Welcome, everyone. You've checked into the Win by Two podcast, the home of my post-game show for the Raptors Uprising of the NBA 2K League. I am pleased to introduce our guest, Michael Singh, official team writer for Raptors GC. Michael, it's obviously a very busy yet super exciting time for you, the Raps and the 2K League as a whole. So I appreciate you taking a small break, from creating content for the team and joining me on the show tonight.
Hey, no, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to talk NBA 2K again, of course.
Yeah, there's, with all the uncertainty due to the pandemic, we weren't sure what exactly we weren't going to get, but, the 2K League provided us with this makeshift experience tonight. But before we officially jump in, Michael, I have to ask you, how wild was it to be able to sit down, turn on the TV and watch the Raptors and just 2K League games in general on Sportsnet?
Yeah, and I think tonight was really a historic night for the NBA 2K League and really esports as a whole. We've had NHL on TV before, but we really haven't had a simulation league on TV before quite like the NBA 2K League. So for fans right now, especially with no sports content, for them to be able to really connect with the league in this new type of way, I think was really revolutionary for it. And I'm excited to see how it is going forward.
Yeah, and I read somewhere last night, I think it was on Twitter, Tim McAuliffe, he brought it up. It would be an absolute dream to kind of watch Tim and Sid go on one of their signature segments or rants on the Raptors GC, accompanied with the dramatic music and all, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I saw a fun little tidbit. I used to intern right in front of, I guess, Tim and Sid there. So seeing them, connect with the league was a little bit extra special there for me.
Definitely. It's such a great move. And then, of course, the 2K League also making their ESPN debut down south. And it's just a great opportunity for the league to kind of showcase and market its talent. But without further ado, let's quickly dive into what we saw tonight, because there is a lot to unpack. Opening night, Raptors GC win Game 1, 79-56. And if that wasn't surprising enough, they disturbingly made quick work of the 76ers in Game 2, blowing them out. I had the score somewhere here, but I know they dropped over 100 points. And thus the Raps are starting the season off at 1-0. As someone who covers the team, Michael, I have to ask you, would I be wrong in saying that no one could have possibly expected this?
Actually, yeah, I would honestly say that, because Raptors Uprising have been confident in talking, when they talk about themselves, before the season. And a few of the features, I guess, I did for the site, for the team, that's one of the points they want to emphasize, is how much they were just kicking butt in scrimmages. This team had one showing in preseason. It was at the Spring 16 tournament. There were some issues that came up during that loss to the Wizards. But other than that, from all accounts, they've been tearing up the scene there, and they've been itching to get out here and show people what they can do, because they think a lot of people are sleeping on them. And I think they're going to keep this going as they carry this momentum forward.
Yeah, and as we kind of take a closer look into what happened tonight and what unfolded, you mentioned some of your pieces in your team preview for tonight's matchup. You put a spotlight on the one-on-one between Timely Cook and Radiant. With Cook returning from his suspension, he drew a matchup with an always looming candidate for MVP, Radiant, but it looked like Cook and the rest of that defense was up to the task. What did you see from Cook, or maybe even the Raps' defensive scheme in general, that allowed them to do what most teams fail to accomplish?
Yeah, and I think they really tried to focus on making sure that Radiant didn't get the ball in his hands. Or when he did, they were going to make it extremely difficult on him as a team. Obviously, Timely Cook came out. He set the tone. He finished the night with a combined 12 steals. And if anyone had any question about Timely Cook being back from season 1, I think all those questions are answered. Because, like you said, Radiant is an MVP candidate year in, year out. And Timely Cook came out and made his life difficult and set the tone again for this Raptors Uprising team, set the tone for what Kenny was going to do.
Right, exactly. And I obviously I want to get to Kenny a little bit later in the show, but just before we do, I think we also have to first talk about Sikh's brilliant performance tonight. He finished game one with I have the stat line here because I knew I'd forget it and I didn't want to do it a lack of justice, but he dropped 18, 14, and 14 with 4 blocks in game one, and then followed that up with another triple-double in game two, 12, 14, and 13. I mean, those stat lines, would make a fantasy basketball fan or enthusiast drool any day. So describe what you saw from Sikh and maybe what you were most impressed with.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, on the defensive end is where they really started and really set the intensity. And Sikh was really all over the court, doing all the right things. Whether it was getting blocks, whether it was coming over for help, whether it was rotating off his guy if he had to. Sikh was there, and Sikh was coming up with some very big plays. Some of the things I was really impressed about with Raptors Uprising was how quickly sometimes they were able to transition the ball up the court, and a lot of times it started with Sikh when he grabbed the rebound. He would look for that quick outlet pass, perhaps maybe to a shrieking Tommy Cook. And that was a play that worked, from what I saw, pretty consistently all night. They seemed to have like a different level of chemistry this year, and I think that starts with the way that the team was built.
Yeah, and to kind of build on that, and you had already touched on the scrimmages during the offseason and just their practice time. Sikh, who was acquired last season via trade, he showed off a bit of what he could do then, but what kind of added benefit did it have for Sikh to be able to go through a full offseason with the team and be able to build that chemistry?
Yeah, exactly. And this team is also coming from, and Sikh in general, is they're playing with people now this year that they've played with for years. Obviously, Sikh and Kenny have a year and a half now together. They've been playing a bit in the pro-am scene as well. Sikh's now playing with his brother, Legit 973, who made his NBA 2K League debut tonight. So, he has that little bit of sense of familiarity. And, these guys are also moving to a different country. Sikh lived in Cleveland back where he played and where he was acquired from previously. And now he's with Toronto and Raptors Uprising. And it takes time to adjust to that. Also, with everything that he's been through, of course, with his mother tragically passing away there right before Christmas. I think this just means a lot to him. I think it shows. And I'm really excited for what he's going to do in season 3.
No, he really balled out, definitely with inspired play. Now, there were a lot of question marks going into tonight's game and season as a whole. Some questions that, were bounced back and forth on social media and in your pieces, was Timely Cook going to be able to bounce back in his return? As you mentioned, how was that brother duo of Legit and Sikh? How is that dynamic going to work? But perhaps the most important question was, would Kenny playing at point guard full time finally unlock the Raps GC potential? And while it was only one game, Michael, it looked like, at least on this night, Kenny was more than up for the challenge. What did you think of Kenny's performance tonight, and what allowed him to excel in such a dominating fashion?
Yeah, no, for those who have been able to, play with Kenny or know what Kenny can do, this has been a long time coming. This coming out party kind of. He's been the leader of this team, this franchise, this organization for, the past 2 years. And in season 3, this team is finally built around him. I feel like Raptors, they have a good partnership there with IBM and their analytical staff. And they're able to, get the best pieces that they feel that can benefit Kenny. And I think that showed really early tonight because it looked like the team ran their offense very clearly around him. And even when it wasn't working early on, when he got the cold ring, someone else would step up, whether that be Sikh, whether that be Timely, whether that be, Reese playing his role. Right. Because there were times, where you could probably tell where Reese, maybe wanted to do a little bit more, but he understood that maybe it was a quick give and go that he had to do, get the ball quickly, give it back to Sikh for a nice bucket. And I think, again, that just speaks to the testament of how well the team is built to play with one another, and it starts again with their leader, Kenny.
Right. Now, just kind of set up this final question here before I do, to reiterate to everyone listening, it is only one game. And, we've seen good teams fall near the finish line, while teams like the T-Wolves will just rise from the ashes and kind of come out of nowhere towards the end. But knowing what you know of the guys, how important was it for the team's confidence to make a statement like they did tonight?
Yeah, this was no run in the park team that they beat. This was the defending NBA 2K League finalists. This was the team that's amassed the most victories in league history. 76ers GC are usually great to start the year because they're one of the teams, or they have won the opening tournament twice, the tip-off twice. They're back-to-back tip-off champions, and so they usually come out to play early on. So for Raptors Uprising, this is their first actual win and to begin a regular season. So for Raptors Uprising to come out on the right note and really start the season on that right note again is fantastic. And I think that again it's a statement to the league. I don't think anyone's gonna be sleeping on them anymore.
Yeah, no, you couldn't have said it better. Like you said, what a great night. Great opening night for the league. Great opening night for Raptors Uprising. And I'm excited to see how the rest of the season plays out and what will go down as, no matter what happens, it'll go down as a historic landmark season for the league. Michael, that just about wraps up our post-game show. Again, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on to break it all down for us.
Yeah, no, of course, Christian. Thanks for having me. And hey, let's see what Raptors Uprising can do.
Yeah, definitely. On the way out, make sure you guys check out Michael on Twitter at MichaelSingh94. Raptors Uprising don't have a lot of time to celebrate. They're back in action tomorrow or later today, depending on when you're listening to this. They'll be taking on Wizards District Gaming. You can catch them at Raptors GC on Twitch at 7 p.m. Eastern. On behalf of Michael Singh, I'm Christian Charisma. Thanks for listening to the Win by 2 post-game show, and catch you guys again next time.